Greetings and salutations, everybody, and welcome back to episode 118 of the Snarp Fangle Podcast. I'm your host, Jake Metzger, the hardcore local multiplayer obsessed PC guy. Not political correctness, a personal computer. My co-host this week, he's a man who's raving mad about the third popular operating system of choice, but he also gets really mad when Link turns a color other than white. Ladies and gentlemen, David Reed.
I mean, you know, I like to keep things on the lighter side. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, you know what they say, David? If it ain't white, it ain't right. Okay, for context, we've been messing around with our Kex Quest, which is the name of our Steam machine we made, and we were emulating Wind Waker at Wii U. And for some reason, them graphical glitches turned Link's skin to black.
All because of the Vulcan driver.
Yes,
which really makes sense when you think about it, because Vulcan is the god of the forge.
Oh, yeah.
And vulcanization is the process by which rubber is made. So,
and doing the Vulcan mind melt. Well, that's different, right?
Yeah, that's a Star Trek thing.
Well, yeah, but they do say Vulcan, right?
Yeah, but I don't think the name
has
any.
Spock does to people.
Yeah, that's just the name of their race.
The Vulcans.
Yeah, but
there's no black Vulcans, I don't think, unless you're watching the new Star Trek.
Yeah, unless you're watching New Trek.
New Trek.
Oh wait, you know what? I think there is a black Vulcan in.
Is it Next Generation?
Voyager.
Oh yeah, maybe.
I think I'm not like a super huge Voyager buff, so I forget what characters were in that show. But I think there's like a half black, half Vulcan character.
Interesting. In Voyager, which
Voyager.
is like the lesser of the Star Trek series.
Yeah,
right?
I mean it has its moments.
David, your birthday's in September, right?
Sure, why not?
Yeah. Well, did you know that's also National Star Trek Month?
Well, I guess it was made to be.
It was made to be, yeah. Well, also, with it being, the month of our illustrious Augustus Caesar, happy Dog Month, David, is what I wish you. Because it is also happy.
SPQR, baby. SPQR.
Exactly. What?
It's the abbreviation for it's like the motto of the Roman Empire or whatever.
SPQR?
Yeah, you find it on written on various things from the time period.
Oh.
I can't remember what it stands for, but it's like a slogan for basically the glory of Rome or some such thing.
Well, speaking of the glory of Rome, if you have any inquiries, comments, concerns, thoughts, and ideas, and independent games you've played in your time on this earth, send them on over to snarpfanglepod@gmail.com, or you can just text Jake. All right, David, before we get into this, we should probably acknowledge the elephant in the room, David, while we're...
Or the Wesley in the room.
Or the Wesley in the room.
I don't think an elephant would fit in this tiny-ass room.
I think a baby elephant might fit,
yeah,
curled up in the corner.
It would take up about a third of the space in here, but yeah, sure, it would fit.
Yeah. Teenager elephant. I don't think, Wesley, if you were an animal, I wouldn't put you as an elephant. Maybe an aardvark, though. Anyway, Wesley Kringle, that is our producer of the Snarp Fangle Podcast. He can't say hi because he doesn't have a mic, but he is here producing. He's our Jeremy to Joe Rogan.
Yeah, he's the Jamie to our Rogan.
Wesley, bring that up, please. Hey, man, can you talk about some, what's the CD oil, man? Like, CBD oil. Wait, yo, Wesley, bring up that CBD oil. Anyway.
Oh, man.
Let's move from substances to in-substances, which is actually digital video games, if I may. So, David, last week, we went ahead and we thought we had lots of time. We hit record and we're like, okay, yeah, let's get into our topics of the day. And we talked about independent games, independent video games created by them independent programmers and artists out there and managers and whatnot. And we're like, yeah, this is getting really good. We're hitting a stride here at an hour and 45. And then sure enough, well, we had to leave to go see the Odyssey. So that's why we cut it short. And David, real quick, fast thoughts of the Odyssey, really quickly. What did you think of the most recent Christopher Nolan entry?
It was certainly a film. I thought it was all right. It wasn't. It was good, but not like amazing. It had some. I didn't gel with the direction of the film. I thought it was Christopher Nolan was a little. I don't know what was going on with his thought process in regards to certain things, but overall the movie was pretty good.
Yeah, I was sitting next to Arson and I said, oh God. When it finally ended, I was like, oh God, it's finally over. Now, I did like the film, but while I was watching it, it was probably my least favorite Nolan film to watch. Just because I don't know why. I just didn't have a good time watching it at all. There's no sneaky person next to me. There's no like bad AC in the movie theater. There's no bad sound, nothing to take me out of it. For some reason, I just wasn't like in it until about the third act. Once we get into the old man Odysseus, then I'm like, okay, I'm in. This is great. But other than that, like technically, like objectively speaking, I think this film technically is wonderful and amazing. Although,
yeah, from a technical
perspective, yeah, I think the story and Nolan's like direction, like I've been thinking about it since we got to see it last week, and I need to see it again because kind of like with Oppenheimer, like there's a lot to soak in into like especially if you're not familiar with the Odyssey, like I am. I'm not that familiar.
I felt the opposite.
I know it tangentially.
I felt the opposite. I felt there wasn't that much to the film. I would have liked there had been more. I felt like he condensed. He like a lot of the potential for layers and complexity. He like folded it down into an overly simplistic rendering of the characters, in my view.
And just like in Oppenheimer, where they resurrected Albert Einstein from the dead to play Albert Einstein, the character, they actually went out and got a real witch and turned people into pigs, David.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, that scene is freaky and awesome. But anyway, overall, I think it was a cool movie. It's definitely worth seeing on the big screen. But I really am not feeling this term masterpiece people are throwing around, personally. So, anyway.
I think people have just, I don't know. I feel like it's one of those things where it's just like people go ooh and ah at the visuals, and they're all caught up in the experience of we're seeing a Christopher Nolan film on the big screen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, and then there's also movie reviewers who, being journalists, are the worst form of scum on the earth. But we won't talk about them.
Yeah.
But regular people, I think people are just getting caught up in the experience of like, this is an event kind of a thing, because every Nolan movie is kind of an event, so to speak.
And I think that's actually a good thing, and I really appreciate that still happens. I mean, we also had Spider-Man come out recently, and that's an event film, but that's a Marvel movie. This is like on a different level, I would say. A more appreciative level, even though that Spider-Man movie was pretty good. But yeah, it's aight. I liked it. But I don't know. I think it was our watch of Oppenheimer for two films, but I can't stop thinking, like, that film weekly comes into my mind ever since we watched it together. And that was my second viewing. And that second viewing just made the movie even better. Like, I'm very smitten with the Oppenheimer film. I don't know. I couldn't really tell you why. I just really, really enjoy it and like it. So the Odyssey, on the other hand, not so much. But what I will say I'm a fan of is our indie games today, David. So let's get into it. And I was thinking, I don't know what order I want to go in, David. But you know what? I'm just going to go into the order that we left off from last week, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah. And I think I'm going to start us off. So here we go. So last week we had 2 each. This week we got 3 each. So strap in. Let's start this off with my first pick. Oh, by the way, we're talking about, yes, indie games. But these are some indie games especially these lists I have for mine, is very close to my heart. And especially this first one, which is the game Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons. And this is what it's about. Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons is a 2013 adventure game developed by Starbreeze Studios and published by 505 Games for many a platform. It's basically on everything. In fact, I think even Amazon Luna was mentioned in the list. And it's also on Switch, but the Switch version is kind of broken. So take that for what you will. The story takes place in a fantasy world filled with creatures such as orcs and trolls, where two young brothers set out on a journey to find a cure for their father's illness. Two Sons is presented from a third-person view overlooking the two brothers, and the brothers are moved individually by one thumbstick per brother on the controller. So your left thumbstick is the older brother, and your right thumbstick is the younger brother. And it was written and directed by Yosef Fares and music by Gustav Grefberg. Starbreeze, the studio that was behind the game, made mostly FPS games such as the Chronicles of Riddick games, the Darkness 1, Syndicate, and the Payday franchise. So this was quite the departure from their usual stuff. But it was headed off by this guy Yosef Fares, which might sound a little familiar. He went on after this to found Hazelight Studios, which went on to create games under the EA Originals title. Those titles all focused on cooperative play between two people. And those titles are A Way Out, It Takes Two, and this year's release of Split Fiction.
Was that this year?
I
thought that was last year.
Was it? I think. Let me look. Wesley, bring that up for us.
Yeah, I'm gonna say
Split Fiction.
I'm
pretty sure.
I feel like I remember.
Was it last year?
Hearing about that game in 2025.
What do we got, Wes?
March 6th, 2025.
2025. Who was last year? Hey, that was Lexi's birthday. All right.
Wow, what a present.
What a present. Hey, the game. I get it, David. You're not gonna get into that game because it's about two women writers. Yeah. It's like if somebody wrote a story about Adeline Chelsea, it would be not very interesting at all.
Well, I feel like
I'm joking.
I feel like that would be more interesting than a lot of the stories that are told in modern media.
I can't lie. I can't argue with that. And growing up with them and how creative they were, 150%. All right, brothers. This has been my experience. This is my experience here. And what I remember is when we finally got the Xbox 360 in 2011 or 12, we got it really late. It was Adelaide's, and she got it just to play two games, Minecraft and, of all things, Super Amazing Wagon Adventure. I made an account and I bought a few titles throughout the years, and specifically there were two titles during my teenage years at this time that I saved up money and I purchased with full price with my own cash. And there were the only two purchases I didn't regret. I think I bought another random shooter, maybe something else. But these were the two games I bought that I was very glad I got. And that was Trials Evolution and Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons. The game was perplexing when you start playing it because, you got to get used to controlling one brother and then the other as well with the sticks. With the, I believe, triggers to do the action button. But it's very simple once you wrap your mind around it.
I want to interject. Yeah. I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
Did you ever try the Ultimate Trial co-op mode?
Ultimate Trial? You mean Trials?
No, I mean the Ultimate Trial of that game.
Oh, co-op no, mode, I have not actually.
Where you both have...
You both have the same controller? I was thinking about you and me playing it through just for that mode, because I have it on Steam, and it's also one of those games I know it front to back, and I've gotten every achievement on Steam, one of the very few Steam achievement completed Steam achievement lists. But yeah, I was thinking about that. I was maybe I need to replay this. Maybe me and David just sit on the couch together sharing a controller. But I don't know. It sounds strange.
Yeah, I don't really want to do that.
I think you and me would get a kick out of playing A Way Out, though. Because it's literally all split screen. And you're controlling one person, the other person has got the other guy. And it's an okay story, but it does the same thing with this game, which is it takes the mechanics and makes it around the story. So, controlling these two guys. or the two brothers, but then the emotional events that are happening are affected by what you're doing. And I'll get into this a little bit, but the whole mechanic is very unique. And at the time, it was never before seen in 2013, like a co-op game that is telling a very, like, a captivating story, for lack of a better term. You have this unique mechanic, you go on a quest, and and that is the emotional anchor. You got one kid on one stick, one kid on the other. And the things that you encounter and you see affect how you play. So for example, you're split up there in one of the first levels. You got a dog that's attacking. So you got to cross this field onto the hay bales to dodge the dog. So you're moving one brother and then you get him to the bale. The brother distracts it and then you distracts the dog. Then you get the other brother while the dog's distracted and go from there. That's just a simple example. But the game is so cool because it takes this two-stick approach and like expands upon it and adds constant new things to it through each level. Some of them can get a little samey, but there's something different in each level, whether it's you're rescuing a troll in the dungeon or you're fighting an invisible giant that you can't see, but you have to hide from him, or the brothers get separated in one level where you have to go here and go there and go here and go there, and you're doing that. The game also is incredibly dark. Like, there's a lot of talk about, and this is all no dialogue, by the way. It's all through like gibberish speak. So like they don't speak any words. It's just them doing like, and they're just saying it and they're like talking, but you get the idea of what they're saying. There's no subtitles or anything, but you get it. Okay, they're going to go find the cure for their dad and they're going to go through this. And one thing I love is the game has a great pace and it's not too bogged down with complexities. It keeps you going, and so you can experience that next step in the story. And I think one would go through and criticize the game for not being too creative in terms of the puzzles. But as you play the game, you experience, like I said, tons of new things as the brothers journey on their quest. And the new things also keep going where you have to manage how each level has different puzzles, and not just puzzles of I got to figure out this, a literal puzzle piece, but I have to figure out how to distract this person to get the other brother over there. And it's really unique. In fact, I think a lot of the puzzles provide a lot of freshness to keep you engaged and to keep the pacing good. And you don't stay somewhere for too long, which is also really cool. Like there's one moment where the brothers are tied together with a rope so they can get across this giant stone bridge. And then that's it. You don't ever revisit that mechanic. And you just keep going to the next level. And you see this kind of game design carry over through all the other titles after this. A Way Out, It Takes Two. But it all started with this game. Here's my last thing on this, and then I want to hear what you think, David. The story overall is what you're here for. You could beat it in about 3 hours on a first playthrough, and even at full price, even today, it's absolutely worth the money. I was left when I first played this with my eyes watering at the end through the emotional high and lows. The breadth of emotional reactions this game can provide you, depending on who you are, whether you cry at movies or not, I guess. I don't really cry at movies. Finding Dory was the only one, but that's a story for another time. That's a story for another time. But this game has provided to people one thing, a thing that video games have proven time and time again, that it can connect the player emotionally, not only through the storytelling, but mechanically as well. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but it does this all with, like I said, no dialogue, without telling you how to feel. I can't recommend this game enough. I highly recommend you go and seek it out and you give the game your time and see it to the end. I've played this game probably upwards of 5 to 8 times throughout the years, throughout the years. And it's a yearly replay for me. It will always be one of those games, just like Limbo and Inside, where I will never get that experience. I'll never forget the experience I had with it. Like Yosef Ferris and Starbreeze back in the day, you guys done good. So, David, do you have any experience with Brothers at all?
No, I've never played it. I've seen footage of it. I was aware of it around the time it was released. I just never got around to playing it, but I do. Yeah, the concept is really creative, and I can see that. If I did ever sit down to play it, I would imagine I'd probably get a lot of enjoyment out of it. I just haven't done that yet.
It's worth it, man. It is so good, and like it would really open my eyes. I'm like, wow, like it's one of those things that open your eyes. Like, oh, video games can do this. You know what I mean? Like, and like I said, like it's not just through the storytelling, but it's that in combination with the mechanic of the two brothers. It's so good. When I was doing research for this, I found, I don't know if you watched him back in the day, David, but Total Biscuit did a WTF video of this. Like, what is Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons? And I totally forgot about this video. Like, I think this is how I found out about the game, was through Total Biscuit, which, by the way, David, do you know who he is? Total Biscuit, the cynical Brit?
I've heard the name. I've never watched his content.
Okay. He was just one of those gaming YouTubers, but he would do like journalistic like critiques about it. So he had a WTF series where it would just specifically go and highlight random games you'd find on Steam or even bigger games like Battlefield, but he would highlight stuff like Brothers. And it was really cool. And he unfortunately passed away, I believe, in 2018 from cancer. He was a multiple cancer survivor too. Like I think he had it for like on and off for 8 years. And like 2010 and on, or I don't know the specific date, but he passed away in 2018 and it was really sad because I would even watch and listen to his co-optional podcast he had with Jesse Cox and what's her name? I'm forgetting it. But Dodger, that's her name. But they would all be YouTubers and do random gaming stuff and stream and that kind of thing when Twitch was just getting into the game. And I would watch that co-optional podcast. And it was one of those first podcasts I'd watch where I was like 3 to 4 hours long. And I'm like, whoa, this is a beast. This is crazy. I don't know if I'm just going to take me a week to get through this podcast. And now my daily job, I get through like 2 of those. So, but yeah, shout out to Brothers: Tale of Two Sons. If you're curious about that Total Biscuit video, it's down in the description as well as the Steam page. I do want to real briefly talk about the remake they did of this. UE5 comes out, David, and they made a UE5 remake of this game. And it is, I bought it, played 45 minutes of it, which is like the first 2 levels, and I refunded it because it's the antithesis of UE5 slop. It's really bad, hard to run the game on the Kex Quest out there. It was really hard to run the game. It just loses all of the art direction that this painterly, low graphic style that the original game had. It loses it all. It's just the brothers are blue clothes and orange clothes, and it just looks realistic. And it's like that you're taking away a lot from this game.
I think you mean epitome, though. You said antithesis.
Oh, the epitome. Sorry.
That's the opposite.
That's the opposite. It's not my bad. So, and also when you boot it up, so this game deals with like a lot of dark stuff, right? Like suicide. There's a whole Valley of Giants, which you can go play the game and find out what that is. But there's a lot of blood, a lot of killing, a lot of murdering, a lot of like just really dark ass stuff. And it's very violent. And they have a whole thing at the beginning of the remake. And this is not why I don't like this game. It's mainly just the art direction. But I found it funny, and I screenshotted the opening thing. And it says, I'll just read the first couple things. Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons remake contains content that some players may find disturbing or triggering. Unsettling fantasy depictions of human-like figures, i.e. trolls, blood and blood-like substances, fire, visual depictions of severed bodily injuries, dismembering, ritualistic symbols and ceremony, alcohol and alcohol abuse, spiders, dogs, confined spaces, and the sensation of being trapped or chased, depression, mourning, and suicide. I'm going to skip the rest, but it ends with, your mental health matters.
Oh my God.
It's a dark ass game, don't get me wrong. But when I saw that, I'm like, come on, guys. Really?
That's like those like little PSAs they do on Disney Plus, where it's like
Yep.
if someone was smoking in the movie because it's an older movie, they're like, just so you know, this
This is
has
bad.
some really triggering depictions.
My God.
You know, it's like,
It's like,
okay,
yeah, thanks. Literally being politically correct and like trying to police it. It's policing the content, David. What
I
if
don't
I
know.
want to watch Song of the South?
Yeah, I don't know if it's policing it so much as just they want to like, it's this like, um, it really like, what's the word? Like infantilizes your audience.
Kind of like dumbs it down also. Like treats them, like you said, like an infant, basically.
Yeah.
Like kids. Kidding or like pretend, like, yeah, infantile. Is that the right term?
Infantilize, yeah.
Yeah.
I think I was trying to think of a different word,
Something
but
like that.
infantilize works too.
Yeah.
That works too. Yeah, it definitely treats the audience like they're not like they don't have
Agency.
yeah, exactly. And it's just like, you know, we're just like the dumb consumers that need special guidance from our betters. So we has to make sure we're aware of some triggering content that's going to be playing in front of our eyes.
God. Anyway. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Also, this thing's on phones. You can play it on Switch. You can play it on Amazon Luna. It's basically on everything. Don't play the remake. It doesn't do it justice. Just play the original. It'll also run on any laptop you have in the last 10 years. So just go play it there. But yeah, that's it. So David, what's your first pick?
All right, so my first pick
And yeah,
is going to be Shovel Knight.
Shovel Knight. Da-dunk.
So, all right, let's get into it. So, Shovel Knight is a platform game developed and published by Yacht Club Games. Development was crowdfunded and the game was released for Nintendo 3DS, Wii U, and Windows in June of 2014. It was ported to OS X and Linux in September 2014, although the Mac port no longer works.
Yeah, no longer works. Yep.
PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, PlayStation Vita, and Xbox One in April 2015. Amazon Fire TV
What?
in September 2015, and Nintendo Switch
heck?
in March 2017.
I want to know that div kit. That's crazy.
Shovel Knight is inspired by gameplay and graphics of platformer games developed for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Yeah, so Shovel Knight is basically like this. It's like a platformer, 2D side-scrolling platformer, retro style, 8-bit graphics, 8-bit music, and it just has that retro vibe. And it's kind of cool too. It's like it's one of the early games that was crowdfunded
Yeah.
through Kickstarter, and
I'm gonna look that up. Wait, Wesley, look that up. What year was that when he was crowdfunded? Because it came out later, like 2014, right?
it came out in 2014.
Yeah, for the Wii U.
Yes.
Oh.
But yeah, it was one of the early crowdfunded games, and it was cool too because the developers were very like, I guess they were cognizant of the support they'd received from their backers, so they made a ton of content for the game over the years. They made like several different campaigns for it, and like if you backed the game, like that was all like a free update available to you. And it was, yeah, like eventually they repackaged all of it together under I think it was called Shovel Knight, Shovel of Hope or something.
Well, Shovel of Hope, I think, is the name of the first, like the original campaign.
No. The
Right.
Shovel Knight is the name of the original game.
No, I know, but the campaign with Shovel Knight is called Hope, I believe. Or am I wrong on that? Wesley, what was the year it was kickstarted?
The only thing I see
Wesley's looking. He's seeing.
when the funding started.
Yeah, when did they start the Kickstarter? Let's see.
2013.
2013. Oh, wow. So it was like like a year later it came
Yeah.
out. Dang.
Okay, so I was wrong. Okay, so Shovel of Hope is, yes, the name of the original campaign, but it wasn't applied until later.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
It
They didn't call it that till
It
later.
was originally just called Shovel Knight. Then later on, they named the original campaign Shovel of Hope, and then the bundled version was called Shovel Knight Treasure Trove.
Treasure Trove. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I think is the only way you can purchase it nowadays.
I purchased Shovel of Hope on GOG like
Oh, you can get him. Oh, you can
Like
get him individually.
2 years ago.
Oh, that's right. Because I remember, what was the one about the plagues? Plagues of Shadows, or
Plague of Shadows, Spectre of Torment, and King of Cards.
yeah, I think when the Switch came out, that was a launch game for the Switch on the eShop. Was the Plague of Shadows? So you could purchase that individually or get, I believe, the Treasure Trove.
Yeah.
I think so. I could be wrong.
But yeah, that if I remember correctly too, though, like the Kickstarter backers just got all of it as it came out for free.
That's awesome.
Which was really cool. And yeah, there was a ton of. I remember watching. I think it was Game Grumps play through it, and one of the guys on there was actually a backer. So he was talking about.
Oh, cool.
So he was talking about the developers, and they just seemed like really cool dudes.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's so crazy that it came out on the Wii U and 3DS and PC, and then everything else was later.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
What an interesting lineup.
The Wii U exclusive, Shovel Knight.
God, the Wii U is such a terrible console.
Yeah.
Which it had some hidden gems, which makes it all the more infuriating.
Yep. I remember when Steven was living here, and then you came along, David, and we had access to that Wii U for years. And you and me both said, you took advantage of it a few times.
I played, because he owned...
yeah, he owned Wind Waker.
He owned Wind Waker, so I played that. That was before I discovered the magic of emulation.
Yeah.
But yeah, so...
Yeah, I think I actually own a couple Wii U games from like a random... I think it was like a marketplace meetup or something, and the guy had them extra, and he's like, oh, you can just have these, or something like that. Maybe it was like a yard sale. But I have Smash Bros. I have no, I don't have Wind Waker. But I have that, Arkham Origins, and the Fire Emblem game, randomly. Because apparently the new version was censored, so I'm like, I want the... When I was really into game collecting, I'm like, I want the original copy, even though I have no intent on playing it, ever. Or I could just emulate it.
That's funny.
So,
But yeah, so my first exposure to Shovel Knight was not during the original release. It was a few years later when I saw it being played on YouTube. And then, yeah, I could tell the game was something special, even just watching it. But I just never got around to getting it or anything until a few years later. And then I played it, and it was just like... At first, it was kind of a shell shock because it doesn't control very well. It's not like a Mario title. It doesn't have that fluid. But so it's something you got to get used to. But other than just getting used to, it's kind of like a Mega Man style movement.
It's more Mega Man, really.
Which I never grew up playing. I grew up playing Mario. So yeah, once you get used to that, it's just like everything in the game like works so well. The music, the graphics, the visuals, the story, the characters, it all just comes together in a really, really neat way.
That's cool. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of experience. I think I purchased it on the Switch, but I think I only put in a few hours, if that, like just a couple of levels in the Shovel of Hope campaign. But I liked what I played, and maybe I'll go back to it one day, but I don't know. Maybe it's just not for me, but I really do appreciate for what they did, because there's a lot of people that are happy with this game, especially in the reception it got. So.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. What do we got here? I'm not used to reading things. Okay. Development. There we go.
Here we go.
So Yacht Club. So yeah, this is kind of the development story of it. So Yacht Club Games was founded by former members of the video game company Way Forward Technologies. The concept behind Shovel Knight was conceived in January of 2013. Designer Nick Wozniak stated that the idea for the game started out as, quote, sort of as a joke conversation over lunch that kind of got too serious. The team had planned to make a game in the style of the Nintendo Entertainment System, classics that they grew up on, and eventually the sword thrust move from Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link,
Oh, man.
was brought up as a move that the designers liked. Oh, man, have you ever played Zelda 2?
No.
Oh, that game is something else. They soon believed that this move would be better suited in their game for a shovel instead of a sword. Which makes a whole lot of sense now when you think about it that way. Because, the sword thrust they're talking about in Zelda 2 is
Oh,
like
yeah.
a downward thrust.
Yeah, the dong.
Yeah, it's like...
And then Shovel Knight goes up, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like the butt stomp before... the Mario butt stomp before that was a thing.
That's awesome.
But yeah, they soon believed that the director Sean Valesco said the decision of the character names was pretty much settled after the first brainstorming session, with the name Plummet Knight being the only other suggestion.
Plummet Knight? Why? That's a terrible name.
Because you plummet.
You plummet. Yeah, you spelunk down.
You press down in the air and you plummet.
Like the Scrooge McDuck thing. Yeah. Yeah, something cool about this game is that Way Forward, those are the dudes that did Shantae. So these guys made all like the Shantae games throughout the years, and then they were like, oh, you know what? Let's make our own game. And what year was this in, David?
This game?
Yeah, I can go to the next one, I guess.
Yeah, so all this development was happening in 2013.
Whoa.
So yeah, the game was revealed on March 15th of 2013, which is crazy because it started in January and they revealed it like 3 months later.
Oh, like they started developing it and then they revealed it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Alongside the launch of a Kickstarter campaign to crowdfund development with a minimum goal of $75,000. Before the launch of the crowdfunding campaign, Yacht Club Games was put in contact with Dan Edelman, the director of digital content development at Nintendo of America. Edelman liked the game and was able to provide support with publishing and development. The campaign went on to collect a total of $311,502, fulfilling all announced stretch goals for additional features by its end on April 13th. Those goals included a 4-player battle mode, a mission-based challenge setting, a body swap mode, and additional player story campaigns for 3 boss characters. The campaign had numerous rewards for backers, including an art book and special bags of dirt decorated to symbolize the members of the Order of No Quarter.
Order of No Quarter.
Yeah, that's the name of the baddies in the game that you fight.
Okay.
Each of the bosses in each of the levels is a knight in the Order of No Quarter.
I must have missed that. That's cool, though.
In combination with money brought through PayPal donations, Yacht Club Games raised a total of $328,682. The team provided a demo for Shovel Knight at PAX East and received favorable coverage from video game websites. The amount the developers raised was insufficient to cover the game's costs. They had to delay the game's release date, leading them to work the last month of its development without payment.
Dang, really?
Which
That happens
shows
a
their
lot.
dedication.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's...
I mean, $300K and then they released it the year afterward. I could see that for that time. But also it's funny because stuff like Broken Age, I think like, I wonder how much they got because that was back in 2011. Yeah, they looked for $400,000, but I think they got, I'm not finding it here. Oh, they got 3 million on Kickstarter, which is a lot, but also they're in San Francisco and they laid off like a bunch of people at the end of the development, which is a normal practice with game dev, unfortunately. But they're also in San Francisco.
Yeah.
It's an expensive ass city. These guys, I don't know where they're at actually. I think
don't
like
know either.
Michigan or something like that, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, and two, when you think about it, $300,000. It's like if I'm understanding the information that I researched correctly, like this was covered the cost of like all of the game's content, all of the individual campaigns, all of the Kickstarter rewards, everything. that they were trying to accomplish, not just the original game itself.
Yeah.
So that kind of
Oh,
makes more
that's
sense.
a good point too. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
when you like, especially merch and stuff, like that stuff starts really stacking up, especially when you only have a certain amount of people that donated for that tier. You're like, okay, we have to get 300 shirts. I wish we had 1,000 people backing that because we could get it at a better price to item, that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So yeah, that does stack up. I think the Double Fine with Broken Age learned that lesson a lot through their documentary. But this is also interesting because I don't know if you'll get into it, but when was the last DLC released? Wasn't it like 2019?
Yeah, the last release of it was in 2019, which is the Shovel Knight Treasure Trove, which was
Dang.
all of the game's content that had been developed over those 6 years or whatever, like all condensed into one package.
That's really cool because I remember hearing about people who like got it on 3DS and they got all those DLC campaigns on 3DS, even though like it was like 2019 or whatever. So
That's pretty cool. Yeah, the 3DS was
it was way dead at that point.
Yeah.
The Switch was 2 years into its life at that point.
Yeah.
So
That
that's
is pretty cool though.
Yeah. Yeah, they're awesome guys from what I hear. And I've heard different podcasts from like their now former community manager. I think her name was, I can't remember her name, but anyway, like she was super cool. And it's funny because they even went after like, Colin Moriarty specifically, who's at IGN at this point. They specifically targeted him because he's a huge Mega Man fan. So they like sought him out specifically to like buy or to review this game at IGN. So it was interesting.
Yeah, that is pretty funny.
It was
It's
very much
kind
on
of
the
cool. They
dollar.
managed to get some good connections and a lot of support from their fans, and turned out really well for them. Yeah, and as far as what I would say the legacy of this game is, after the early 2000s proved the viability of retro-style games, it was inevitable that we would get a game like Shovel Knight, a well-designed homage to Mega Man, Zelda, and other classic 2D games. It manages to capture the overall feeling of gaming on classic 8-bit systems like the NES and the Commodore 64 without feeling too derivative of any one game. It was also one of the early Kickstarter successes in the gaming industry, helping to cement crowdfunding as a game development strategy.
Yeah, because there wasn't a crazy amount at this time, but you had stuff like the aforementioned Broken Age.
Yeah, it
Double
wasn't the
Fine,
first, but it was one of the early ones.
Yeah, like one of the big ones where it got a lot of coverage, a lot of people donating, and again, that's crazy that they just kept making it, and regardless of getting paid. So, and once they came out in 2014, I'm sure they got a lot of good funding in there, and it funded them. It kept funding them throughout the years. Like people kept buying this, and then the Switch came out, and that was a huge seller on there, and then the new consoles with the new gen, and so on and so forth. David, do you know anything about their game they just came out with this year, Mina the Hollower?
The Hollower, no.
Yeah, Mina the Hollower is what it's called.
I think that rings a bell, but I don't really know.
I would check it out. It's basically like Shovel Knight's the homage to Zelda 2 and Mega Man. This is their homage to Link's Awakening and the Season and Oracle games. So this is like this is their homage to that.
Okay.
And I hear only good things about it. It's not a game I'm really interested in, but it's cool that they actually finished it too, because apparently when they were finishing up the campaigns of Shovel Knight, they were going to make the sequel. But they split into two teams. So the first team was going to finish the main campaigns and then work on the sequel or their next project, which I believe they want to do a 3D Shovel Knight game. I think that's their next one, which is like, why not?
Shovel Knight 64.
Yeah, Shovel Knight 64. Why not do Shovel Knight 2? Like, come on, man. But anyway, so they had that team working on that. And then the second team was head up by an intern at their studio. And this intern ended up getting way over his head with this pitch because it took him 3 years to get anywhere with the game. And at that point, they were like, all right, you're off the project, or we're going to bring in new leadership because this is taking way too much time and money. So they put all their resources into Mina the Hollower the last couple years, I think the last 2 or 3 years. And they said basically, like, if this game is not successful, if we don't hit like 500K sales, like, we are in trouble as a studio. Oh, it wasn't that high. I think it was like 250. But that's
Hmm.
still a lot of copies for an indie game, especially nowadays where it's hard to get noticed. But I think they're at close to 1 million at this point, so they're going to keep going, which is cool. But yeah, it just goes to show that when you gotta when you appoint when you designate responsibility, you gotta be careful, and they just didn't end up managing it quite as well as they could. But apparently, there's no confirmation, but apparently the next game is going to be Shovel Knight 64 or 3D Shovel Knight or whatever. So,
Hmm.
which I think that would be cool, but and apparently that was their inevitable goal. Like just throughout the years doing interviews, they're like, we do want to do a 3D Shovel Knight. Like that's our goal, but we got to fulfill the Kickstarter, and we love working on this. But now they want to do 3D, so it's like just do Shovel Knight 2. That'll sell a bunch of stuff and do that. So I don't know. What do you want, David?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you would do with a Shovel Knight 3D. That'd just be like you'd have to like rework the game from like the whole idea of the game from the ground up, because the original game is based on the OG butt stomp.
Yep,
The
pogo stick.
But like that doesn't really work in 3D. Like,
I'm curious how they're going to translate that. Like, do they have a really good idea? Because apparently this Mina the Hollower is fantastic and is like everything a Zelda fan could want. Like 2D top-down Zelda.
oh, I know how they're gonna do it.
Oh?
I know how they're gonna do it. It's gonna be a Souls-like.
Oh.
It's gonna be like Elden Ring,
Yes.
but with a Shovel Knight character.
Elden Knight. Elden Ring Shovel Knight. Hey, you know what? Shovel Knight's been in basically every dang indie game, like multiplayer wise, as a character. So even Smash Brothers as a trophy. So like, come on, guys, partner up with the Miyazaki guy and get him in Elden Ring too. Shovel Knight is one of the NPCs. All right. Anything else on Shovel Knight, David?
Nope, that's about it.
All right. I think the next one I'm gonna go out of order here because I feel like this would be a better one. And that's what we just played out in the living room before we came to the studio to record, David. And that game is Towerfall. Towerfall. Well, before I get into my feelings, this is what it is. Towerfall is action indie game created by Matt Thorson through his company Matt Makes Games, which would later become Canadian developer and publisher Extremely OK Games. In the game, players control up to 4 archers in a multiplayer platform fighter, a la Smash Bros, but with arrows. It was released on the Ouya microconsole in June 2013 and was later ported to PS4, Xbox One, Linux, Mac OS, which I'm sure that doesn't work anymore, and Windows as Towerfall Ascension, and to the Nintendo Switch later under its original title, Towerfall. Towerfall was Thorson's first commercial game, and it followed from a June 2012 game dev single-player prototype. Thorson tested the game on his indie dev developer colleagues, with whom he lived with, and developed its capacity as a party game. Its mechanics were inspired by games of Thorson's youth, such as Bushido Blade, GoldenEye 64, and influenced by demo feedback at the Evolution Championship Series fighting game tournament. Towerfall was known as the standout title for the Ouya at the console's launch. Before we continue, David, do you remember what the Ouya is?
Yes, I know what the Ouya is.
Okay.
Very it's a failed idea. It was like Android based or something, right?
Yeah, so people thought that phones were dead. Or that consoles were dead at this time. Like there was a lot of discussion from analysts and Wall Street people, as well as like just gaming journalists, that consoles are gonna die. So because phones is where it's at, man. We got Flappy Bird. That was later, but you know what I mean. Like we got Angry Birds. We got Cut the Rope. We got all. They're gonna overtake the video game industry, and nobody's gonna want to play on consoles anymore because it's in your pocket. Why not? Yeah, that was a placed bet, Wall Street, because the Ouya comes out and it's like, no, consoles are actually back and they're better than ever. And this was the year before the PS4 and Xbox One. So the pitch is this: a console that's affordable, cheap, comes with a controller, and it's $50, but it's Android based. So it can only play Android games, so it can play mobile games on the big screen, because that makes sense, right? Anyway, I remember like following, I think it was on Kickstarter or something, and it was crowdfunded, and it got like kind of like Shovel Knight. Like they asked for this amount of money, but they got way more. It was a financial failure. Complete financial failure. There was some games that were on there that were like it was just mobile games with a controller. That was pretty much it. There were some other titles, and one of those was Towerfall. And everybody said, I remember reading Game Informer, David, and you know how they say like what console it is in the review, like in the like side panel or whatever.
Yeah.
It said Ouya, and they're like, this is like the best game on the Ouya. This thing's awesome. This is a great game.
Speaking of companies betting on mobile games, I actually recently was watching a Count Dankula video. He did one on Hideo Kojima.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and
Dankula talking about Kojima.
And that was that was just a wild concept that you had Kojima Studios basically printing money for Konami. And they're like, nah, man, mobile games are the future.
Nah, fool, get out of here.
It's just like...
Take this preppy A24 BS and get out of town.
It's like, how much more of a short-sighted move could you make? Like, you're literally printing money by letting this guy make games for you. And you're just like, nah, dude, mobile games are the future.
Metal Gear Solid 5 also was like the most successful Metal Gear, like, right after it came out too. So they just like got rid of that fella.
Yeah,
which is like, look at him now.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, the development costs were like somewhere like in the $80 million range, which is a lot.
That is a lot, but not for nowadays.
But then the amount of money it made on day one was like $180 million.
Yeah, so they definitely got back not just their money, but definitely their like marketing and all
yeah,
that
they made
$100
million in profit on day one.
Day one.
And they still can the guy.
It's crazy, man. Just and do you remember, like, I know we're going a little long on Kojima, but do you remember when he revealed Metal Gear Solid 5? Do you remember this at all, David? Where he pretended it was a different studio?
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah,
like Kojima dresses up like Wesley, like you weren't there for this, but he went. So Metal Gear Solid 5, everybody's like, oh, when are they gonna make it? Because the last one was on PS3, and that was the end of the story. So this is like somewhere else in the timeline, and so it goes out through Jeff Keighley's like game trailer show. Because he's friends with Jeff Keighley, like this was before the Game Awards, but like he like Jeff Keighley was interviewing this guy. He's like, "What is this game? Ground Zeroes?" And he's like, "Yeah, Ground Zeroes." And he's interviewing this dude in a completely bandaged head so you don't see his identity, and it goes off some like anagram of Hideo Kojima. So it's like Joseph something or whatever. And it's like a different name, a different voice, but it's Hideo Kojima under the wrap. And he's like, this game looks a little like Metal Gear Solid. Is this actually Metal Gear Solid? And he's like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And then eventually it's revealed that Metal Gear Solid 5 exists, and it came out that year.
Yeah.
Crazy, pretentious, but you know what? I'm a fan of that, actually. That sounds like goofy and whatever, but let the man be goofy.
Speaking of Kojima, that Dankula video also brought back a memory. Remember PT?
Yeah.
The most played, most downloaded demo of all time. Like basically PT, for those who don't know, PT stands for playable teaser, and it was just this short little demo of this like horror, like
first-person
psychological thriller horror game. And then people got word that this was actually a demo for the next Silent Hill game, developed by Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro,
and starring Norman Reedus.
Yes.
And like there's a face reveal and everything, and everybody's like, holy shit, this is gonna be amazing. I can't wait for this game.
And then Konami just canned it.
Yep. But that's why Norman Reedus is in Death Stranding and so on and so forth. Dude, that that whole reveal of Death Stranding was dumb. Like, and like Kojima's now like the second coming of Christ now in the gaming industry, and it's hilarious.
Well, I mean, more power to him.
Yeah,
Like,
we need more goofy people like that.
I mean, he's literally made some of the most influential games of all time.
Yeah.
And then the company he put all that work into for just cast him off.
Yeah.
So I think he deserves a little bit of the accolades he's had since the release of Death Stranding.
Yeah.
Although I probably won't be getting to that title anytime soon.
No, yeah, me neither. Last thing on that, I would argue that Kojima inadvertently saved the Resident Evil franchise. Because he released the PT demo 2015 or whatever, 2016, what have you. Resident Evil was kind of like in a crappy space. Like they had 6 that came out. Raccoon City was a failure. It's been years since we had a Resident Evil. And even more for a good Resident Evil game. And with games like Amnesia, Outlast, and all these other like first-person independent horror games, I think Resident Evil saw that and they said, Capcom saw that and they said, oh, let's try that direction. And then we got RE7, which brought the franchise back. And then they decided to remake 2, and now it started Capcom's like Capconaissance that they're on right now, that they're still doing. I mean, we had Pragmata come out this year, and it was glowing reviews, great sales, and that's a new IP. Like, and that game was in development for like 6 years, but that was good. RE9 came out and was great from what people say, and now you got the Omnimusha new game that's coming out this later, I think next month. So anyway. Let's get back to Towerfall.
Yeah.
All right. Where the heck was I? Oh, the Ouya. Yeah, that thing died. But here's the thing. The game sold on Ouya around 7,000 copies, resulting in gross revenue of $105,000. And then once the like exclusivity expired, he ported it to PS4. Where the Ascension like title came up and expanded like a single player. They gave it a single player mode, new levels, weapons, and different like characters as well. It was also on PS Vita, which is kind of weird, but awesome as well. That was in 2015, as well as the Xbox One, and then eventual Switch versions were released. And then also, David, there was a standalone 8-player edition that was a mod you could purchase on on his website in 2016. And this is where it comes in, like, my side of it. Like, David, let me tell you something. When we were out there right now playing Towerfall, you, me, and Wes, it brought back some memories. Some really great memories. This game, David, was the quintessential multiplayer game of the Metzger household. Friendships were made. Sibling rivalries brewed. Newer additions to the family, Josh and Sam, were battle-hardened. And the shouting of, "Save the replay! Save the replay!" was a common occurrence. Towerfall was, just a huge game for me. And I don't even remember how I found out about the game. I think I must have watched something somewhere, maybe a trailer or something. But then I found out about GOG. I purchased it on there. And it was a staple from then on. On my journey, like personal journey, PC building and stuff like that, I found out there was like a ton of couch co-op games that were like really fun. And we've had our time, me and the sisters and the nephews. We had our time with the N64 emulators, with Gang Beasts, Stick Fight, even Co-op Trine 2, as well as GameCube games. But Towerfall, oh my God, was on a whole other level. Like, me and my sisters were always super competitive growing up. Like, that Smash Brothers energy that we had playing Melee and Brawl growing up was carried right over to this. And not having a Wii U or a new Smash Bros. Around that time, this was that Smash Brothers game. And we basically ended up playing it like literally every week, even multiple times a week. And don't even get me started on when we had a Halloween party or a New Year's party, which I'm sure Wesley, you as a kid was there for. Because we would play that with the 8-player mod, David. And oh my God, man. Like, first off, I had to get 8 controllers. So at this point, I think I had like 3 or 4 Xbox 360 controllers, a GameCube controller with the adapter on the PC, which worked, by the way. And then as well as like, I think my PS4 controller, I didn't have a PS4 controller at the time, but I had other controllers and I ran it like I had 8-bit, one of the first 8-bit Do controllers as well, and some other things. And we would just murder. Because it's cool because we were playing out there, right? And it's 4x3. When you install the 8-player mod, the bars expand and it's 16x9. And all the levels are altered for 8 players.
Ooh.
And it's insane. It was Smash Bros. Ultimate before Smash Bros. Ultimate. It was so much fun. And it still is. It
Nice.
still is today.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun playing the limited amount of time I did played it with you guys out there just now. I had a lot of fun. It's funny you're talking about your experiences with it. It's like that was Kirby's Dream Course for me and my siblings.
Yeah.
Like that was our ultimate like friendship family bond tester multiplayer title. So yeah, I can definitely, not having grown up with Towerfall, I can definitely relate to the same kind of experience though.
Yeah, and like that was also like the beginning of where like the LAN party stuff came from. Cause I think an Xbox One at that time I bought from my cousin. So I had that and I had like my PC. And that was pretty much it. So we would play Rocket League on the Xbox, so that had split screen, and then we play on my PC. So we had like 5 people total. Oh no, you could do split screen on PC. So we had technically 8 people at one point. I think we only did it once, but we also had some time with Rocket League as well. Mostly it was like 4-player, but we had a great time. And there was a lot, like during those parties, people would be in my room, even if I wasn't there, because that's where Towerfall was. That's where Mario Kart 64 was on the PC. Like all this Gang Beast, Stick Fight especially, all this stuff. I don't have the hours on my GOG account because we mostly played it offline, but I could probably say we played it like thousands of times, or thousands of hours worth, I would say. Like,
speaking of multiplayer titles, now that we got our Kex Quest up and running, we need to get that 4-player Grand Prix Mario Kart 64 mod that I found up and running. I remember we tried it on my SNES Classic that I hacked, but it didn't work very well.
Yeah, it's like 15 frames or something crazy.
And it was just the controller setup was for 4 people was really awkward, and like it kept like forgetting bindings and stuff because RetroArch sucks. But yeah, now that we are on Kex Quest, I think we should try to get that going.
Yeah, that'd be dope. Like there's also just random stuff like that multiplayer mod, the 8-player mod. You had to go to Matt's website and download it and put it in the folder and run that exe only. And that's why there's no GOG like log time. Because I think it said like 10 hours on my account, but that's when we were online. We had crappy internet back in the day. We would only play offline stuff. So there's no tracking them hours. Unless you're playing Melee on GameCube and it tracks it. But that's about it. But man, Towerfall was awesome. And then Matt Thorson went on to create Celeste. And Celeste also kind of does the same thing that Brothers did, where mechanically you connect to the story. Not as well, I would say. It's just a 2D platformer. But it's a very well realized story in a 2D platformer. And without Towerfall, we would have never gotten Celeste. And I know Matt's called a different name nowadays, but this is what he created back then. And yeah, it's just, Towerfall's awesome, man. Like I probably won't get those same feelings again like I did back in the day, but I look back and I'm like, gosh dang. I was also playing, I was really getting into PC gaming. I was playing Stardew Valley a bunch and just a bunch of other things. And again, not on great hardware, but we played what we could play with what we had.
Yeah, also, when you're playing Stardew Valley,
Yeah, you don't need it.
Hey, you don't need the latest ray tracing enabled NVIDIA graphics card for that game.
Yeah. It was funny. I think I had a system with a Q6600 and I just slammed a Radeon R9 380 in there. So it's like a really, really old 4-core CPU with this more modern, like 10-year in the future GPU. And I barely ran Titanfall 2 at like 720p, as well as like Wolfenstein: The New Order, but it ran. So I was just happy I could run it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of great older or less graphically intensive titles out there that if you don't have a powerful PC gaming rig, you can there's still enjoyment to be had.
Yeah. And also, like, if people out there are interested in this game, like, it's on Switch. Just go buy it there. Pretty much everybody has some access to a Switch at this point, so I would recommend you get it there or on PC, whatever like floats your boat. But I believe it's also on PlayStation and Xbox. But man, the PC version has the 8-player mode, which is awesome. Switch kind of got there. Switch actually has a 6-player mode that you can play.
Okay.
So that was kind of cool.
They tried.
But if you have a Switch and you like multiplayer games, and couch co-op specifically, like that's what the Switch was made for. Get Towerfall. For the love of God, go get it. And it's only like $15. Like it's even on sale. Those games are like $2 to $3 or $4 or whatever. Just wait for a sale if you really want to, but like, my God, man. So good. I did find some cool things while researching this. So Matt, at the time, he was in a Indie Olympics tournament with this game. So like independent devs would compete in different games. And so he played against some other dude and he lost, the creator of the game. But it's, we'll link it down in the description here, Indie Olympics tournament with Matt here. And it's just to give you an idea of like, I put it in here just because this is what me and my sister's level was at when we were like the best at the game. Like it was so good. There's also like if you really have extra time or you want to know about the design of the game, there's a little like presentation Matt did. I think that's like 40 minutes long or something like that about designing Towerfall. And then of course we'll have the OST down there as well as the Steam link. But man, that Towerfall, man, it was the Smash Bros of that era for us. Like we didn't have Wii U. We went back to Brawl of all things. But Towerfall was that game. Yeah. And it was him, you know? He is him.
He is him.
He is him. So for the next one, David, I'll let you decide. But do you want the past or do you think we should end with the future? What do you think would be best?
Like,
do we want to get out of the way the other one? Like,
yeah, well, I'll let you decide. I was going to go in the order I had them written down, but
what do you want?
Considering that if I swap the order, we'll be ending with the future. So I kind of like that idea. So, so for me, the next one then will be Bastion.
Oh man, here we go.
Yeah. So this one was kind of interesting because I had 4 games picked out, and then I was really struggling coming up with a 5th game that I had the same level of history or connection to or appreciation of as I did. Not that there isn't other great indie games out there. It's just me personally, the ones I picked, I had some kind of connection to and history with, and then I couldn't really think of another game that technically fit in that indie category that I had that same level of connection with. And so Jake ended up picking one for me. And so I'm going to talk about it, but this is like the first time I've ever played this game.
Well, I was going to say David has very intimate, close knowledge with the game Gone Home, but he didn't want to talk about that. He didn't want to talk about you finding out the sister's a lesbian, so we picked the next best thing. Do you even know what I'm talking about, David?
No.
Okay, never mind. Somebody out there does.
That reference could have sailed right over my head.
Over me.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, man.
Okay, so Bastion. Bastion is a 2011 action role-playing video game developed by independent developer Supergiant Games and originally published by Warner Brothers Interactive.
Oh.
In the game, the player controls the kid, or as the narrator says, the kid.
The kid.
You know, and now that I'm thinking about it, like, that narrator is like dangerously close to Duke Nukem. Come get some.
Which is really appropriate for the memes I threw in this document.
Hail to the king, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Hail to the king, the kid. Come on, kid.
He's very, very close to
You want
that.
some bubble gum, kid?
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Okay. Let's get back on track here. The player controls the kid as he moves through floating fantasy-themed environments and fights enemies of various types. It features a dynamic voiceover. Yes, it does.
Yes, it does.
From a narrator and is presented as a two-dimensional game with a hand-painted art style. Bastion's story follows the kid as he collects special shards of rock to power a structure, the Bastion, in the wake of an apocalyptic calamity. The player character moves like, Calamity Ganon.
Yeah, what?
This was where Breath of the Wild got the idea from.
What?
The player character moves through floating, fantasy-themed environments that form paths as the player approaches the edge. Levels consist of a single plane and are viewed isometrically. They are filled with enemies of various types which attempt to harm the kid. The kid carries 2 weapons, which may be selected from the choices available to the player at specific locations called arsenals. So yeah, my experience with this game is absolutely zero, other than playing it a little bit today, and I'm kind of like not super sold on the gameplay, and the narrator gets a little bit annoying after a while.
He's the loudest thing in the sound mix.
And it's like, after a while, I was just like, man, shut up. Just let me fight some enemies and
hear shut up, Navi. Come on.
Hear the music, because the soundtrack is banging.
Dude, it's such a banging soundtrack.
And the art direction is so good.
Oh, great artwork, dude.
And I get why this game is loved by the people who do. Although for me, I don't know if it's the game for me, but I can definitely see how it got the acclaim that it did. But yeah, as far as the development cycle or the history of the development goes, Bastion was created by a team of 7 people. That's not a lot of people.
That's not a lot of folks.
who composed the studio Supergiant Games. It was the company's first game, and I mean that's pretty good for
first game.
Yeah, for a first outing.
Everything I've seen of this game, that's impressive.
Yeah, the game was directed by Amir Rao, and Greg Kasavin wrote the game's narration, which was spoken by Logan Cunningham. You mean it wasn't John St. John?
Or
Come
the guy
get some.
or Sergeant Johnson.
Oh man, Gen Z, not the letter Z,
not the
Z.
Generation Z. Gen Jen Z.
Gen Z was the artist. Gavin Simon developed the gameplay, Andrew Wang helped develop the game, and Darren Korb handled the sound effects and music. The co-founders of Supergiant Games, Rao and Simon, previously worked for Electronic Arts, where they helped develop Command & Conquer 3 and Red Alert 3. They left to form the studio because they wanted the development speed and the ability to try new ideas that would be possible with a smaller team. Development began on the game in September of 2009. The team created the game over almost 2 years and funded the development themselves.
Whoa.
Most of the team built the game in a house in San Jose.
Jeez.
The original idea was based around the premise of creating a town like those found in a role-playing game. The team chose the design elements of a fractured floating world due to their wish to portray a sky in the game, which is usually not possible with an isometric camera, as it always points down. They also wanted to forego a map system and felt that having the ground come up to the kid allowed the player to easily see without a map where they had already been in a level. The story of the calamity was created as a way to explain this game's mechanic. Because just that picture that you put at the end there.
I didn't know you were going to make a Duke Nukem reference. This was for Selaco. But I was like, let me throw him in here. That's a whole lot of words. Too bad I'm not reading them. Oh, man.
But
so, that's Bastion.
Yeah, I can see why it's as loved as it is. It's probably not. I'm more I don't really like clunky, repetitive gameplay, which that seems like that's kind of how it is. But the art direction, gotta say, spot on.
Yeah.
The music, it's pretty good. I'll definitely have to take a look at the game's soundtrack at some point.
Yeah, I was listening to it, I think yesterday. I was getting the doc together, and dang, dude, there's some where I'm like, man, this is like, I was like I never took a deep dive into the soundtrack. I only heard some tracks throughout the years because Eileen, Chelsea, and Lexi were kind of, I don't know, I know Lexi was obsessed with this game, but also Eileen and Chelsea had a lot of experience with it. And I think I remember watching them play through to the ending and all that kind of thing. So I got to see a lot of the game. I just don't remember a whole lot of it. And then playing it today out in the living room, first off, we had issues. This is another game that has X input only support, and we got Steam controllers, which don't support that. So we had some tech glitches and stuff like that, but I could see myself playing through this game, and thankfully it's not too long. So there's that as well. Wesley, could you please look up how long to beat Bastion for us, please? Because I think it's like under 3 hours or maybe a little longer. But yeah, this was a staple in our house as well. Like, it was one of those 3 games on the laptops throughout the years. And this was 2013, so this was, I guess, a later game. I guess I was wrong, because I think we had Limbo. I think it was like 2012 era. Like, we had Limbo and Braid and Bastion. We had these 3 games. So, guess we didn't get that till later.
Yeah, well, this one was 2011.
Oh, this was 2011?
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was 20. Okay, so that makes more sense. Okay. Because Limbo, I think, was 2010. Braid was 09. So, yeah, boom, boom, boom. So, what you got, Wesley?
Well, the main story, it's 6 hours.
6 hours? All right. 6
Extras-
hours?
Extras and challenges is 9 to 10 hours.
Mm.
100% completion is 20.
Dang, this is a long-ass game. For an indie game, that was pretty good, especially for the time. But yeah, I would like to play it one day. People have been bogging, my sister specifically, have been saying, oh man, this is exactly how oddly it sounds like, David. Oh, you haven't played? You haven't played Bastion, young brother?
Yeah,
gotta play
knowing your sister, yeah, she speaks exactly like that.
Exactly. She's listened to that. She sounds like that after listening to a lot of Sleep Token, David. So anyway, was there anything else we had on this?
I don't think
By
so.
the way, I think we should get Wesley a mic one day. What do you think, David?
Yeah, that's probably a
Yeah,
good
I feel
idea.
like when we look up stuff, Jamie's got a mic.
Yeah.
Wesley,
I
should have a
mean,
mic.
we've got the mics here.
Yeah, we don't, David, Wesley, those mics are broken. You can't use those.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're kind of too. We didn't really think about
Yeah,
this.
I was like thinking about like, I don't know if we need to, but now I'm like, I'd like to hear. I think the people want to hear Wesley.
But yeah, so yeah, we can't really do anything about that now. So for now, Wesley will have to be mute. But we'll get him.
Don't
up.
worry, ladies and gentlemen, he's laughing. Okay, he wouldn't look up something earlier. He gave me a side eye, and I had to say please, and then he did it. So it's all
Yeah,
good.
we'll get him a mic.
We'll get him a mic, and then but wait, what if he, David? What if he starts sounding like Logan Cunningham when we give him the power?
I mean,
Then you get to hear that voice forever.
yeah, I mean, there's worse things. There's worse things.
Oh man. Is it my turn?
I think it is your turn.
Okay, all right. That's my last one. All right. Here we go. So my last pick is a game during the same era of Towerfall. I was very happy to find this game through, of all things, I think it was EP Daily. It was a Canadian developed network show that had gaming news and game reviews on it. And the guy still does it today. He just does it online nowadays. And he was doing it for like 15 years. And I saw them mention a game called Spelunky. And I'm like, what's that? What's that game? What does that mean? And this is what Spelunky is about. Spelunky is a 2008 platformer created by independent developer Derek Yu and released as source available freeware for Windows. It was remade for the Xbox 360 in 2012, with ports of the new version following for various platforms, including back on Windows. And and this is what it's about. The player controls a spelunker who explores a series of caves while collecting treasure, saving damsels, fighting enemies, and dodging traps. The caves are procedurally generated. And the run through making the run of the game unique. Spelunky was one of those first games to combine concepts from roguelikes, like the game Rogue, and with side-scrolling platformer elements. Due to its popularity, it was the influence for many later roguelite games that we see today. Spelunky received critical acclaim for its gameplay, atmosphere. Seriously, come on, guys. Design. It's cool, but why would you use the word atmosphere? Use I don't know. It provides a feeling. Anyway.
Well, I mean, it's one of those things. It's
Atmosphere?
like they don't want to say vibe.
Oh,
They don't want to
that's
say
true.
vibe.
Yeah.
They don't want to say mood.
It provides a unique vibe. It provides a unique mood. Okay, atmosphere. Okay, yeah, right, dude. All right. It does have some multiplayer and whatnot, and throughout the years, many critics and publications regard it as one of the greatest video games of all time. Spelunky, this is the development here. Spelunky was created by Derek Yu and was released as freeware on Windows on December 21st, 2008. The source code of the Windows version was published under a software license permitting non-commercial distribution on Christmas of that same year, or the next year. And the first version of Spelunky Classic was released as freeware on a private space called TigSource forums, where some players were exposed to the game and provided Derek Yu some immediate feedback for the game creating a loop of development where new additions were added to the game in response to the player feedback, which is really cool, actually. I didn't really dive too deep in that aspect, but he did post it on the forum that he was like Derek Yu, that is. And he posted on the forum. And apparently, from what this says, it was basically like an early access before early access. Like people were able to provide feedback and of the game's development that led eventually to the Xbox port in 2012. Shortly after, Derek released a public version of the game, which gained greater exposure. Jonathan Blow, developer of Braid, reached out to Derek concerning releasing the game officially on consoles, which was a huge benefit for indie developers at the time, considering the success of stuff like Braid, Castle Crashers, and The World of Goo. While looking for programmers to help him on the project, he reconnected with longtime friend Andy Hull, who offered his services, and then an enhanced remake was followed and released on the Xbox Live Arcade on July 4th, 2012, and this also enhanced edition also released on PC and PS3 in August of 2013. I think I really, really like this game, David. It's a good game. And I remember I just discovered GOG, Good Old Games, around this time. This was back 2015, 16, something like that, around the Towerfall era. And I went and created an account, purchased some games, and those games included were System Shock 2, Rogue Legacy, Towerfall Ascension, I wrote Shadow Fun in my notes, Shadowrun, Dragonfall. An old classic such as Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb, Deus Ex, and Spelunky. I think I went through and booted up all of these games and played most of them, but Spelunky, out of all the games, it was hands down my favorite title, with Towerfall as a close second. I had an old Windows HP 2010 laptop at the time and could play games on it as my main driver is what I wrote. Man, I must have been on something. Maybe that flat Dr. Pepper hit me differently. Anyway, this was about 2015, and yeah, GOG still is a really good platform. What I was caught off guard by at first was the difficulty of this game. For those unaware, this is again a side-scrolling platformer, but it's all procedurally generated, and when you die, you start at the very beginning. You can unlock different areas as you play through the game. Like after the main cave, you get the jungle area. After that, you get the ice world, and so on and so forth. I've actually never beat this game because of the difficulty. And there are times where I look back at it and I you know what? Maybe this is the time. Maybe this is the time, the run that I will beat Spelunky. But I keep going back to this game. I purchased it again on Switch when I got a Switch, and it's just a really fun game to go back to. And I think I wouldn't compare it to something like Tetris, something that's just that good. But I feel like with this game and the combination of older game design, like in Rogue, and that what led from this game on, from that original source port, really changed not just the indie gaming landscape, but the gaming landscape in general. Like, because of this game, we have mechanics like this in God of War Ragnarok. Like, it really transcended a lot in gaming. And this wasn't the first game to do it. It's based on the old game Rogue, which is the roguelike mechanic. And you have stuff that really excelled at that genre, like Dead Cells, for example, and other games of that genre. But I think with Spelunky, just the way it's made, it's very mathematical in the way it's designed. There'll be stuff down below, like there's a documentary about the making of Spelunky, how and why. Game Maker's Toolkit did a video about the levels, as well as like links of where you can purchase it and play the original, which you can play in a browser too. But yeah, David, I was wondering what you thought of this. Do you have any experience with Spelunky?
I don't actually. I'm not. I like the whole roguelite genre. I just like completely missed out on it.
Oh,
I don't think I've ever actually played a single roguelite more than like a couple seconds.
Well, you also kind of missed the a whole console generation. I could be wrong, but isn't that the case with the PS4 and Xbox One? It was kind of
Yeah,
you missed.
I mean, I played like the early era of like Xbox One games, but like that, I kind of fell out of gaming at that point for a little while. So yeah, I did in a sense sort of miss that generation. But yeah, this game I just don't have any experience with it, but I've looked it up before and it seems cool. Like I said, like you were saying, yeah, the whole roguelite genre owes a lot to this game, and like roguelites are everywhere nowadays.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like basically any kind of shooter or like top-down platformer you get has roguelike. You can put down money. If it's a new indie game on Steam, it's probably got roguelike elements. It's not like some random story game. So, or RPG that is. There's a great first-person shooter I've been playing recently that's called Dead Zone Rogue, which is basically a roguelite. Also, I can clarify this in a little bit, but yeah, that shooter is really great, and they're making a second one, and it's just a really satisfying shooter with roguelike elements, and that's kind of been the game I've been going back to recently, kind of like Spelunky, where it's a roguelike. Roguelikes are kind of those games where like, all right, I don't know what to play. I'm already comfortable with this, so I'll just boot it up. And it really is a detriment to that kind of gameplay, like that gameplay like behavior. Like, I don't know what to play. I already know this. I can get a couple rounds in. It's just very tempting. Same thing with like Dead Cells and the such. But the difference between roguelike and roguelite, did you ever know the difference of that, David?
Well, yeah. From my understanding, a roguelike is something akin to the original Rogue.
Yeah.
And entails a lot of very specific design decisions, and then a roguelite, which is much more common from my understanding. Like I said, I'm not really familiar with the genre, but from my understanding, yeah, roguelite, which is much more common, takes elements of the roguelike genre, but doesn't follow them super strictly.
Yeah, so basically the difference is roguelike is something like Rogue or Spelunky, where you die, you completely start over. No totally fresh, no experience gained. In the game, that is. Your personal experience, whatever. But that's roguelike. Roguelite is something like Dead Cells, where you play through, you die, but you get your money, your experience, and all this stuff has been saved once you passed away.
Yeah.
Once they kill you.
Yep.
So that's like the main difference. And roguelite is very overused nowadays, but there are still plenty of titles that do it pretty well.
Well,
just,
I mean,
just don't give me a game with cards in that. I don't
Yeah.
want any card games.
Yeah, so no Balatro for you.
No Balatro for me. Sorry, Josh. I know you gifted for me for Christmas, and I was like, I really didn't want this game, but you know what? It's from a family member. I'll accept it, and maybe I'll give it a try.
You know, I don't want to like be crapping on Balatro, but I will say,
It sucks.
no, I will say that, you know, I heard so much about it. It got so much praise and adoration. And then when I actually like saw someone playing it and like saw what the game was, I was like, that's it? That was my first reaction.
This was nominated for Game of the Year? Really?
Nothing bad about it. I was expecting more.
I was expecting more. But yeah, Spelunky, it's more of an example of it defined the genre, but also as a game standing alone, it's also pretty dang good. You can still pick it up and play it today and still have a good time. You'll see a lot of elements in it that were from games that you're familiar with today, if like, say you're a younger gamer or what have you. But any of you never played it, I definitely recommend it. I think you can get it on pretty much any modern platform, as well as the Sonys, the Microsofts. You get your Nintendos, as well as PC. And I don't know if it's on mobile, but it's a fantastic game. Highly, highly recommended. It's a great one. Alrighty, David. What's your last pick?
All right, my last pick is with an eye towards the future of indie games, Selaco.
Selaco. What's it about?
Selaco is a first-person shooter developed by Altered Orbit Studios. The game is built on the GZ Doom engine, an open-source port of the Doom engine. Selaco entered early access on Steam on May 31st, 2024. The story is set during an alien invasion of Selaco, an underground city that serves as a refuge following the fall of Earth. Players assume the role of Dawn Collins, an ACE, Allied Coalition for Expansion, security captain who is investigating Selaco's murky history. She gets caught in the attacks and now must fight her way past the armed invaders. The gameplay is heavily inspired by Doom, Fear, Quake, and other classic shooters of the 90s and early 2000s, while featuring a retro-style cyberpunk aesthetic. So yeah, this would normally be where I would save like my tell the story of my experience with the game, and it's a little too new for that.
Okay.
You know, it came out 2 years ago, and it's still in early access. We're waiting for Chapter 2. From what I understand, they're going to add quest marker arrows or objective arrows.
Wow.
Yeah. So
this is early access.
So yeah, but yeah, I've been really interested in Doom modding for like the past like two years or so, give or take. I don't something like that, but yeah, for the past about 2 years or so, I've been really interested in Doom modding, and so this game kind of caught my eye because it's made is a fully featured original game made in GZ Doom, which calling it an engine is something of an understatement. GZ Doom exists pretty much solely to play Doom and Hexen and Heretic and mods of those games. So like, and it's the most feature rich of all the Doom source boards, but notwithstanding, it is primarily, its primary purpose is to be a source port for playing Doom content. So the fact that somebody took this and decided we're going to make a whole game on it is pretty cool.
Yeah, because I mean it's the original Doom engine, but I'm guessing like there's more modern features to it, maybe?
Yeah. So it's not exactly the original Doom engine, which I'll get into that.
Okay.
So, you know, instead of talking about the development of this game specifically, which isn't that interesting. And also it's still in development.
Still in development, yeah.
So I want to talk about kind of the development of Doom modding in general, and
Alright.
why I think that's important to the future of indie gaming. So, when developing Doom, id Software was aware that many players had tried to create custom levels and other modifications for their previous game, Wolfenstein 3D. So that was like the Mac Daddy of first-person shooters was Wolfenstein 3D. Like that was like I wouldn't say it was like the absolute first-person shooter. Like, I think there's a couple other games that you could call first-person shooters that were before that, but that was like the first game that had the complete sort of understanding of what we think of as a first-person shooter today. So Wolfenstein 3D, but the procedures involved in creating and loading modifications for that game were cumbersome. John Carmack, the lead programmer at id Software, designed the Doom internals from the ground up to allow players to extend the game. In particular, game assets, levels, and other content was separated from the engine in WAD files. And I always thought it was really funny that was the file extension for Doom content, but like I was always like WAD. It was just like a wad of Doom content.
Wad of Doom.
But apparently WAD actually stands for Where's All the Data.
Oh, okay, yeah, I remember hearing about this.
Tom Hall is responsible for coming up with the name WAD.
Tom Hall, not in Holland.
Definitely not. I don't think he was born yet.
Yeah,
at this
not
point.
conceived.
The idea of making Doom easily modifiable was primarily backed by Carmack, a well-known supporter of copyleft and the hacker ideal of people sharing and building upon each other's work, and by John Romero, who had hacked game in his youth and wanted to allow other gamers to do the same. In contrast, some video game artists, including Jay Wilbur and Kevin Cloud, objected due to legal concerns and the belief that it would not be any benefit to the company's business. So Doom was designed from the ground up to be modifiable. So you had the game's engine itself, and then all the content for the game, the levels, the characters, the enemies, the weapons, all that was all contained in one file called the WAD file. So when you made a mod, you just put all your content in there, and most mods in the beginning use the content, like the textures and the enemies, and that was already in Doom to begin with. They were just making their own level layouts. But it didn't stay that way for long, but that was the beginning of it. So they would essentially, if you were making your own Doom mod, you would just simply package your levels with all the needed content into one WAD file, and then you would load that with the Doom engine, and boom, you were playing your Doom mod.
Dang.
And so this kind of, with the decline of gaming on DOS, because, after a certain point, it's like it became obsolete, you couldn't really play Doom the original way very easily anymore. And also at the time too, people were looking for, ways to bring modern quality of life features to the game. So that's where the concept of a source port came. An open source reverse engineer of the Doom source code that would allow, that would run on modern systems, that would allow people to load the main Doom WADs as well as any modded content and play it as if they were running Doom.exe on MS-DOS, basically.
Was the GC Doom the engine or launcher we used for the Quake Champions mod pack?
No, that was a different source port.
Oh, that was like UZ?
No, that was a source port called Xandronum.
Xandronum. Okay, gotcha.
So Xandronum is a multiplayer focused source port.
Okay.
And apparently its performance, like its performance and its netcode was not up to snuff for what the Quake Champions Doom Edition developers wanted. So they actually forked Xandronum and made Q Xandronum with the improvements that were necessary for their mod in order to run it.
Dude, that's dope.
Yeah, so basically, you had originally you had Doom source ports were just basically reverse engineered versions of the original source code with the original limitations of the original engine. After a while, people started finding a way around the limitations of the original engine, and so you started getting source ports like Boom and PR Boom, which were then called limit removing because you could do more things with them than you could actually do with the original Doom engine, things like enemy count and the size of levels, textures, all that. And then also too, you had this, the idea of adding content to Doom WADs that was not supported by the original code. And so originally you had what were called dehacked patches that you would apply to the game to get things like extra weapons, because normally if you had a new weapon for your Doom mod, it would just go in one of the slots of the original weapons. It would replace that. Same with the enemies. Same with the soundtrack. All the new content would just go into the slot of something from the original game. And so these dehacked patches were a way of extending the amount of content that their Doom mods could show. So you could have mods that had all the original weapons plus new ones, or all the original enemies plus new ones. Kind of things like that. And that eventually, and all that development eventually funneled towards what was called Z-Doom. So Z-Doom is a source port launched in March 6, 1998. So it supported Boom editing extensions, Boom being the earlier source port, plus all the extensions made in the version of the Doom engine used in Hexen Beyond Heretic, like Mouse Look.
Okay.
As well as several other new features. It also supports other games that share the Doom engine. So Z-Doom was kind of a big step forward for Doom modding, because not only did it support Heretic, Hexen, Doom, Wolfenstein 3D, it had extra abilities like jumping, crouching, mouse look. You could have better looking textures. You could have better lighting effects. You could have all these things that were not possible with previous Doom source ports. And Z-Doom eventually, development ceased on it, and it got forked by another dude who called that GZ Doom.
Oh, okay.
And then GZ Doom became sort of the main Z-Doom derivative moving forward until a controversy a few years ago where the creator of GZ Doom kind of messed it up a little bit for the community.
No.
So basically he kind of took like an extended leave, and the people who had been previously responsible for maintaining Z-Doom had basically given this guy their blessing. It's like, your fork is now the new Z-Doom.
Okay, GZ Doom, that is.
So they were essentially, so when you go to zdoom.org, like, and you go to download it, GZ Doom is what was on the front page, was what was forward facing to the public. So that was like the version of Z-Doom. He took an extended leave of absence from development on it, and some other people sort of stepped in to help maintain it, help continue development. And then he comes back out of nowhere, pushes a bunch of sloppy AI-generated code that caused a lot of issues, and a lot of bugs. And
whoa,
This is what led to the development of UZ Doom. So they basically, the people who had been maintaining GZ Doom during the original guy's absence got together and forked GZ Doom and turned it into UZ Doom. And then the maintainers of Z Doom basically gave their blessing to this new team. So now UZ Doom is the current iteration of Z Doom in general, and like they're still adding features. Like just a few days ago, they released the release candidate 1 for UZ Doom 5.0. It was on 4.14 for a long time.
Oh, so they're at 5.0 now.
Yeah, so
Dang.
they just their first release candidate for 5.0, and they like added a slew of new features, like the ability to drag files into the launcher itself.
Oh, dude.
The ability to have a separate tab for hosting and joining multiplayer games.
Oh, what?
And changing up the net code. And so, yeah, there's
Lots of quality of life stuff. Right?
Yeah. So a lot of work is being done in the Doom modding community, despite the fact that this is all based on a game that came out in, the early 90s.
Yeah. I think it's awesome because now we're getting actual, like, Selaco. Like, we're getting actual games made in GZ, or not UZ Doom or GZ
Well,
Doom.
yeah, at the time, GZ Doom was the official one. So yeah, Selaco is developed based on GZ Doom. But yeah, it's really cool to me because this is essentially, Selaco is like the culmination of a long process of people just keeping this, keeping their love of Doom alive, and it's gotten to the point of they've added so many features that, like this, what started off as a very humble source port back in the day, Z Doom, is now to the point where you can develop full games on it that don't play like Doom, that don't feel like Doom. Because like playing Selaco, it feels a lot more like Fear than it does Doom.
Interesting.
Like the gunplay is essentially Fear without the slow-mo.
Huh.
Like it's pretty good. I've only played it a little bit so far, but it's pretty dang good. Yeah,
I played the demo of it some time ago now, and I loved the movement and how fast it was and how smooth it felt in general. And then like I found out like what you were saying, like we're talking about now. Wait, this is in the Doom engine? What? It's just it boggles the mind. But it's cool and perfect because we have the genre of the boomer shooters that's pretty popular right now. And the fact that we're getting stuff like this, the second Warhammer boomer shooter game that's coming out soon, and as well as like other stuff as well. So
yeah,
it was pretty cool. Pretty dope.
Yeah, so this is basically a little less about Selaco and more about just like how this has opened up a space for indie developers to get their ideas out there in ways that they might not normally have been able to, because the FPS is kind of the FPS was in the domain of AAA developers for a long time. Like you had the indie revolution that started off with games like Cave Story, like Braid in the early 2000s, but like those were all side-scrolling platformers, as like genres like the FPS were squarely in the domain of AAA developers, or at least the traditional game development pipeline. So the idea that the GZ Doom has matured, or Z Doom in general has matured enough to the point where like small teams can get their ideas out on it and turn them into full games is very encouraging.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's just kind of appropriate because you're making games in an older engine that the games call back to an older period of time. And it's also interesting because I think the only big AAA shooters we're seeing is pretty much from id, the actual id studios. But now that they've been kind of cut in half with the Microsoft layoffs, I think they're going to make another Doom game after this or something else. But I think Doom's on the mind. And until we get that, I think the only thing we have besides that is the big multiplayer games like, COD and Battlefield. And I can't think of any big multiplayer shooters. We're getting some great, like, free to play and kind of smaller ones. Like the Finals is, I played some of that. That's a fantastic, like, Battlefield like multiplayer shooter. And then we're getting stuff like the guys who made made Splitgate, which was like Halo with portals.
Mm.
But they're making a game that it came out recently called Impulse, where it's basically like their version of Titanfall. And you have mechs and you have the wall running and all that kind of stuff. So, but to have like a single player FPS that focuses on the single experience, it's really the indie scene that's kind of carrying that forward.
Yeah. I mean, that's the funny thing is like, I mean, multiplayer was always big
Mhm.
in
Oh, yeah.
shooters, but like from the very beginning. But the focus was equally on multiplayer and on story in the beginning. And now moving forward, it's like the major developers have completely sidelined the single player shooter experience for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, it's really the only one. And even with even with Halo, like we just had Campaign Evolve come out, and it's either the industry has moved away from single player shooters, or they have been terrible torchbearers of the single player shooter, like Halo Studios, or formerly known as 343, for example.
Yeah, and that's the thing about the Campaign Evolved was like that's less a revival of single player shooters and more they wanted to remake Halo, but they didn't have the ambition to actually remake the whole game. So they're like, let's just remake one part of it.
Yeah, and it kind of like the Brothers remake, it really lost a lot when they took it to UE5. And I'm not saying UE5 is a bad engine. I'm saying that it's kind of generically remade in UE5. Like
Yeah.
Brothers is made in a way where it's like kind of amateur indie filmmaking in the cutscenes versus the camera was top down, and then it like in the original Brothers, the camera comes in from the top and goes down and kind of like meanders a little bit and shows the cutscene. Then it goes back up and resumes the gameplay. It's very smooth. But in the remake, it took all these cuts, and now there's all these cuts around here. And the same thing with Campaign Evolved. They took like a camera of, I think it's Assault on the Control Room or one of those missions where it's the grunts on the ledge and the what's the Echo? What's the ship called? Not Forerunner. The UNSC ship that has the lady talking in it. Oh, what's it
The
name?
Pillar of Autumn?
No. The smaller like ship that carries the troops. It carries Chief in it, and it's like, I got you, Chief.
Oh, the Pelican?
Yeah. Is it a Pelican? Anyway, but I can't remember the name. Anyway, the cutscene with her dropping a Chief off at that ledge with the grunts, it's totally like kind of ruined in that cutscene, in my opinion. Like it just comes off as generic and weird animations versus that one grunt walking along and then he sees the ship and he freaks out, and there's more personality to the original.
Yeah, I mean,
It
the
lost its
original
luster.
the original Halo had its fair share of problems.
Oh yeah.
Like
The library.
and also just the graphics too, like Halo 1 and Halo 2 was definitely all the characters had potato faces.
Yep.
But despite, the limitations of the OG Halo engine, like it has a very unique style, and just like remaking all these games in Unreal Engine 5 is just kind of misses the point in my mind of what games are better when they're distinct.
Yeah.
Like when they're distinct creations born of someone's vision, like just using UE5 as a generic wrapper so you can hire more contract workers so you don't have to pay good wages to your the people who work at your studio. It seems a little scummy to me. But
Yeah. The last thing I'll say on Halo Campaign Evolved is right now Halo Studios has no project greenlit right now. So after this campaign remake, they were like, should we greenlight Halo 2 remake? But that wasn't even greenlit yet. So it's like, what are you guys doing? I personally hope that, hey, it ain't doing anything right now except maybe pre-production on the next Doom. Maybe build that studio back up a little bit and take the Halo franchise and give it to somebody like them, being id, or maybe even Machine Games, or hell, give it to Activision. I don't care. Like, get somebody else's hands on Halo and get it away from this terrible steward that was 343.
Oh man, can you imagine a Halo game developed by id
Ravens, yeah, dude.
where you can like punch grunts like skulls in?
Or a game, or a whole single player campaign of the Arbiter from like Raven Software or something.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, because they
Unchain them from Call of Duty for
yeah, because Raven I think has been in charge of the campaigns for COD for like years now. So get them to make a campaign.
Oh, speaking of which, I have to show you at some point. I got to show you Soldier of Fortune.
Oh yeah, you were telling me about that.
It's so cool. It's like Call of Duty before Call of Duty existed. It's developed by Raven Software.
Yeah.
But yeah. So,
That's
but
cool.
anyway, I got one more thing on Selaco and just the legacy of
Yeah.
Doom modding in general. So let's see what I got here. So by empowering users to create Doom mods that go above and beyond the capabilities of the original games, id Software and the creators and maintainers of feature-packed source ports such as ZDoom and its derivatives allow indie developers to create unique first-person shooter experiences that we would never see coming out of established game development pipelines. Selaco, a game with more acclaim than many AAA FPS titles, would have been unthinkable except for the massive amount of effort put in by the open source software community, and stands as a testament to the bright future of indie game development.
It's pretty dope. This reminds me kind of like people love Doom, they love Halo, they love these franchises, and the desire and hunger for that will manifest its way in some form, whether it be somebody making their own game in GZ Doom or what have you. But the example I kind of want to go back to is the Halo community, circa 2018-19, where we had no Halo on PC. Halo 5 came out, it was what it was. They're making the next Halo game, it's years away. Back in 2018, they had a test, like during the 2010s, Microsoft had a couple free-to-play titles they sent in different territories to see if they would be popular. One of that was Halo Online in Russia. And it was a free-to-play online Halo game based on the Halo 3 and 4 engine, I believe. It's the Blam engine, but it was a mix of gameplay and mechanics from 3 and 4, mainly 3. And that got shut down. But the code of it, or the version of that game, got leaked out. And so people were able to develop it. And so they went and translated it all and ported it to had it on PC in Russia. They went ahead and put it up online, and you can download it as an EXE and run Halo Online Launcher. And it was pretty dope. I remember finding it, playing it, and they had a new version 4 point something.
Was that the El Dorito thing that you were talking about?
Yeah, El Dorito. A Mountain
Yeah.
Dew and Doritos. So the El Dorito launcher, I think it had a big update like version 0.4 or something like that. And that was a big day. And of course, they released it on 420. But you had people on voice chat in these random, in a full server browser, by the way, on PC, just playing Halo 3 multiplayer fun games with each other on PC, and it was awesome. And I remember that night playing it, and it was really like, man, this is what could be, you know? And then Microsoft said, hey, we're going to have to send a cease and desist. This is our intellectual property. But what came out of that was, I don't know if it's from Phil Spencer or whoever, but they saw that and said, hey, let's start porting the Master Chief Collection to PC. And they started with Reach in 2019, and that led to Master Chief Collection, what it is today. With now, my worry now is I feel like the Halo community is in a spot where they might recreate something like that, where the desire for Halo is so strong, or the desire for Doom or what have you is so strong, the community will manifest something out of that desire through the lack of that desire being met from these big old companies. I don't know. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I mean, that's just the way of things, you know. Big companies get disconnected from their customer base and start delivering, or not delivering, I should say, on the kind of things their customers want from their games. And it's just like, eventually someone takes it upon themselves to build the game that they want to play, and then other people get on board with it, and it becomes a hit. It becomes a movement, kind of like the El Dorito thing. And, it's one of those things that goes in cycles. People have their fun for a time, and then the lawyers step in and shut things down. But then somewhere, something else rises up from some community somewhere. So, it's all cyclical. Just like it talks about in Ecclesiastes, man. Everything that once was will be again. There's nothing new under the sun. But
with Halo, that is. But
yeah, with Halo, with life in general. But
yeah, Doom is still called Doom.
Yeah. But I think overall, despite the many concerning things that have been happening in the industry, I still think there's hope for the future of the gaming industry. I think the continued strength of indie development is definite proof of that.
Yeah, that kind of goes into some other things I want to talk about. Now, we'll just bring it up briefly. I'm not going to read the whole write-up I have, but there is a quote from Jonathan Blow I did want to read, and I want to get your thoughts on this, David. And he says here in this IGN video, Braid was 2008. That was kind of a fledgling game audience, and now, even in those first few years, games on live arcade, those were hits. They got bigger and bigger because in 09 and 10 and 11, people kept flocking on that channel, the one channel, because they realized now that there are games there that I might be interested in. So that's happened on Steam as well, and that audience for Steam just keeps getting bigger and bigger every year. So the potential of a big hit is always there and actually gets bigger over time. Now, this was a quote, I believe, 2015. So roughly 10 years ago, give or take. And I think this quote is kind of like half correct, like half relevant, half irrelevant. Because nowadays we got games, multiple dozens, if not hundreds of games releasing on Steam every month, every day, multiple per hour sometimes. And it's getting to the point where Steam is getting so saturated, and just the whole market and gaming in general is getting so saturated with whatever, whether it be indie or AAA or what have you, that it's really hard to get eyes on a specific title, and especially with independent development. Now, you have some publishers like Devolver Digital or something like that, or a big publisher, you can get get eyes on your game and marketing. But even then, it's like really difficult. And so it's a market right now in 2026 where there's an attention economy, and it's so spread out that it's hard, to ever get noticed in the first place, regardless of how good your game might be. There's been some really good games that have come out just this year, like smaller AA titles, smaller independent titles that have come out and have just been like gone in a second for the next thing. Especially with and this is a kind of a weird year because we got GTA 6 coming out, so that's going to suck up basically the whole latter quarter of this year. But you also got plenty of amazing stuff that is not really given the limelight. So I know you have hope, David, but why do you have hope for the independent game scene?
Okay, so to your point, to your quote there, I think the whole attention economy thing is a result of people want to have their cake and eat it too. So back in the day, the industry wasn't saturated. The good stuff stood out more, but you could only make games if you had the right connections. Now that game publishing has been democratized to a very large extent, it's created this problem of now how do I get eyes on my game? So it's like it's one of those things where it's like I think maybe people had the expectation that this was going to be like the golden era of gaming, you know, as soon as we got, became unshackled from the chains of the big publishers, the gaming was just going to take off to new heights of glory. And life doesn't work that way. There's always a trade-off somewhere. So while, yeah, it does kind of suck that, people have to compete for people's attentions in this new gaming landscape, at the same time, the opportunity is there for those who have the drive, the creativity, sometimes just the dumb luck, to get their game out there and get people's eyes on it. They can succeed, and that's kind of the American dream. That's why so many people flooded to this country for hundreds of years now, not because they were guaranteed success, not because there was a place and a job waiting for them when they got there, but just because there was a chance for something. And that's just the way life is, There's always going to be downsides to whatever the situation happens to be, but in this case, I have hope for the future just because for those who are hungry enough, for those who are driven enough, for those who are creative enough, the chance for them to get their game out there to make waves in the industry is there in a real way.
And with the saturation, I think also comes a bigger audience. Now, to be quite fair, the top 5 or 7, I think it's top 7 most profitable games. Let's see, what was the statistic I was reading? It was PlayStation, Sony. Their half of their revenue comes from 7 games. And that's your Call of Duties, your Fortnite, that kind of thing. Like these perpetual free-to-play titles that people are perpetually playing. Now, gaming has gotten bigger, and I think a lot of people have flocked to those titles and kind of gotten comfortable and stayed there. And they haven't really, and nor do they want to, venture out beyond them. I don't think it's any of those people's fault at all why, like, some attention isn't given to other games. I think that's just kind of the way the cards have been dealt and the way the cookie crumbles here. I would kind of argue as well that we are also maybe in a perpetual golden era of gaming that has been going on for a while now, with amazing titles like your Shovel Knights, your Hollow Knights, your Celeste, your new God of War games going to AAA side, and Last of Us, what have you. Like, we have gotten some really amazing titles, and sure, bad ones for sure, but more of the people that say things are bad in quotes is more like it's just not for you in a sense, because there's pretty much something out there for everyone.
You know what's really people, I don't think people think about it in these terms very often, but like all the games we've talked about in both of these episodes, you can play them all right now.
Yeah.
We're talking about 20 years of gaming history with the 2 episodes combined, starting with Cave Story in 2004 and ending with Selaco in 2024.
Yeah.
And all of those games released over a span of 20 years that we've talked about, you can play them all right now. And it's not even going to be that difficult. Most of them involves you just buying them on Steam.
Yeah.
And,
maybe what's been around for 20 years? Steam.
Exactly. So it's like, and there's so many, like, talking about Doom source ports, you can play all the classic Doom games. You can play all the classic Quake games. You can play all the classic, like things like Fear, like Half-Life, like Halo, classic games from back in the day, like your Marios, your Zeldas, you can play them all right now. Like all of the solid gold classics that have been released over the years, from the beginning up until now, you can play them. I mean, that's pretty cool when you think about it.
And I think that's kind of been a little bit of the unintended message these last 2 episodes is there's amazing, wonderful games out there and in gaming history as well that you can play today. And it honestly, like you said, David, doesn't take a whole lot besides maybe purchasing them. Like all the titles we talked about today, they'll all run on your laptop from like 2019 or even 2020, like 2017, or even an old Office PC from that time. I have right now a Bazite installed computer in my room that has a decent GPU in it, but there's a lot of games that can run on even just that CPU with the graphics there. Like, it doesn't take a whole lot to play a lot of these get into PC gaming. I mean, Wesley, I think you kind of started getting into PC gaming with just like laptops and stuff, right? Yeah, he's nodding. We need to get you a mic. But yeah, you start somewhere. I started with an old crappy 2009 laptop that had Windows 7 on it. And through there I played, and then before that, an old Windows XP computer that we had lying around in the house from like 10 years ago at the time. And I just threw it in my room. I had no internet. I just had to go to the laptop, download emulators and stuff that would work on Windows XP and install it on there. And they all were, and I was able to find out a way to play old games. Like I would play through the old Fire Emblem games on an emulator on Windows XP. Because that's what it was. That's what would work. And the GBA Advanced Emulator was on XP, and you could do that. And y'all start somewhere. And now now we got the Kex Quest. You know what I mean? So everybody's got like their own gaming journey, but to even get started doesn't take a whole lot. Number one, doesn't take a whole lot of money. And theoretically, if you don't have money and you just get the hardware, you can install something like GZ Doom or UZ Doom and play a million different campaigns or mods or what have you, or even the original Doom. You could go and emulate or do what have you, or play old indie titles. There's a lot you can do with not a whole lot. And it's kind of beautiful that way. And if you really do not want to tinker, I understand that. But also, we're part of a generation right now that is either going to is getting more stupid with technology. So maybe you can try to get more smarter with technology. What do you think, David?
I think we just about covered it.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, with that being said, I think we'll end it there, David. We'll end it there, Wesley. Well, I thought we would go way longer, but you know what? God is good.
I'm kind of glad that we didn't, to be honest.
I see you starting to wilt there a little bit, brother. And so as you take yourself out there, little boy, little kid, come over here on Logan Cunningham and sit on my lap. Let me tell you a story about the kid. His name's Wesley, and he started by hopping on a server, and that server was in a game called Rust. And that guy, he was, the whole world was his oyster. He was so amazed by the world before him and how it ran at 10 frames a second. But let me tell you, the giant, a creature came out from the bushes. Oh my God. And saw the child and lunged toward the child. His father was able to defeat the creature in just the nick of time. And his father looked down at him and said, "Son, let me tell you something. You never want to venture too far off from the isometric era of the platforms that are laying before you. And when creatures come and attack you, keep your chin up, hold up your shield, and snarp Fangle on."
Hail to the king, baby.